Roots Fitness Podcast. Exercising leadership, success, and increase of life. Join us on our journey, well, as we figure it out. All right, well, welcome back. This is going to be a first one for me. I'm actually interviewing somebody today. I'm not just going to be talking at you guys for a little bit. I've got someone called Sam the Fungi here. So Sam, if you want to just drop it, introduce yourself real quick.
For sure. I'm Sam the Fungi. I'm a mushroom. I live for the mushrooms. I live for the fungus. I'm here to spread some knowledge about different types of mushrooms, what they can do for us in our bodies, our environments, kind of end and talk about some mycostigma, and also go over some microphobia that exists in our society.
I like that, mycostigma and microphobia. Digging, those are super important. Before we get started, let me just make a connection for some of you guys out there. We as human beings, we walk around on top of the ground. And on this ground, we build these networks, these webs of people that we know, communities that we interact with, to provide sustenance for us, to provide the increase of life that we're looking for. However, without the ground that we walk on, without this web that binds the ground that we walk on, we would not have any ability to literally would not have the ability to communicate with other human beings if it weren't for mushrooms. So, Sam, I kind of touched a little bit on the fact that we build this web above the earth. Can you elaborate on how mushrooms build the web beneath the ground and provide the sustenance that allow us to be who we are?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different types of mushrooms out there, but they all rely on the same systems, which are called mycelium. So mycelium is basically the root structure of mushrooms, and the way that they grow is like little, I would say like little worms underneath the ground. Like they form what's called hyphae, and those hyphae form together to form mycelium. So it's like little worms meet other little worms, and then they all grow together, and then some of them produce mushrooms, some of them just exist in the ground. And the ones that just exist in the ground are essential for plants to be able to reproduce and to be able to have really, really healthy systems. If you go to, let's say, like an old growth forest, recently I was up in Portland, Oregon, and I was walking around Tryon Park, and as soon as you walk into this park, these trees are massive, 70, 100 feet tall, and you just look down and you can find 5 to 10 different species of mushrooms as soon as you walk in the forest. It's incredible. They say that for every teaspoon of soil that comes from an old growth forest, there is between 1 and 3 miles of mycelium in that teaspoon.
Okay, so
Tablespoon.
So let me ask you this question. So mycelium, in a sense, provides the capacity for life and vegetation, if you will, right? And everything that we consume, its energy is rendered from this vegetation. Even if we consume meat, the meat that we consume had to consume the vegetation in order for it to live, for us to be able to then consume it. And obviously that goes pretty straightforward with all our vegetation. Elaborate on that and how the mycelium literally makes the vegetation what it is for us to sustain ourselves.
Yeah, so
in layman's terms, in my terms.
Cool.
Small words, no more than 2 syllables.
So most of our modern agricultural system, it exists on a high tillage rate. So usually after every harvest, there's the tilling of the soil and then a replanting of different things that we want to grow. A lot of it is corn. But when you do till the soil, you remove the connections that are formed during the growth of that first harvest. So when you remove those connections, the next time those plants are going to be there, they're going to have to rebuild those connections over and over and over. And those connections will rebuild naturally. But if we continue in the way that we do with just constant destruction of the soil, we don't allow nature to do its thing and provide us with the best possible food that we can get. So I don't know if you've gone to the store and you've seen some vegetables or some fruits on there, and you smell them and they're just kind of there, they're just like,
They look pretty.
they look really good, but they don't smell in that way that's like, eat me.
Yeah.
Eat me. and your food should smell like eat meat.
And they don't have that taste that makes you want to eat more. It just seems like there's girth in your mouth and nothing more.
Right. Yeah. It's like hydroponically grown strawberries. Like they're really good. They can be sweet, but they don't have that like, oh my God, this is a strawberry. Like what the world? Like when strawberries are in season, usually the way that they're grown is like with mycelium in the soil. So they can be a lot healthier for us. We can get a lot more nutrition, a lot more nutrients from these plants that are grown with mycelium.
So the maintenance of that network is more important than obviously just the destruction of that network. That's kind of straightforward to say it that way, that it comes out. But I guess the bigger theme, it seems, and kind of the tie that binds a human being to, is the idea of putting in as opposed to taking out, which is a very common theme in anything. About you want to get better, you want to be better, you want to be anything. It takes input in order to get the output. And of course, if there's always output with no input, our network goes away, therefore our sustenance goes away, therefore we have nothing to continue to sustain ourselves with.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward, man. Okay, so to the to the person who only thinks that mushrooms make you bigger and put on white overalls and grow a bigger mustache like Mario, what can mushrooms do for us? I guess start to clear up some of this mycophobia that you discussed earlier.
Yeah, so a lot of people, when they think of mushrooms, they think of the Mario mushrooms or mushrooms that when you eat them,
That's all I ever thought.
Yeah, they just like, oh wow, you're gonna trip out, you're gonna have a crazy ride. But there is so much more to mushrooms than just those. Especially with the older community, another mycophobia is mushrooms are gonna kill you. Like I work as a caregiver, and some of my clients who have been in their 90s have been. When I tell them that I eat mushrooms all the time, I go out in the forest and I find mushrooms, I pick them, I cook them up, and I eat them. They're like, you're gonna die from eating mushrooms. And I'm like, whoa. The way we don't do that is we study them.
Education.
Knowledge
is power. I think I've heard that before. Is it Schoolhouse Rock? Many people have said it.
So many people have said it. And it's so true. It's why it keeps being repeated. There are mushrooms that can make you sick. There are definitely do some research, definitely get some knowledge, take a lot of classes before you go out in the forest or go out in your neighborhood and try to find mushrooms and eat them. Because some of them, they won't kill you, but man, they'll make you so sick.
Man, so you mentioned this to me the other day, actually, in your Mycology 101 that we had here on Saturday, which, by the way, Mycology 101, we've got to have Sam come teach that to you people. You mentioned that, I think it was 5% of plants will kill you.
Yes.
But only 1% of mushrooms has the capacity to kill you. So to further remove some fears, you're more likely to go into nature and die from eating a plant that looks good than actually eating a mushroom, correct?
Totally.
So they're safer for you than plants.
Yeah, because you can touch them. You can touch them, you can hold them in your hands. Mushrooms won't make you sick from just touching them. Just like if you went out and touched some poison oak, poison ivy, if you're sensitive to that, you're gonna get a reaction.
Yeah.
Like I'm not allergic to poison ivy. I found out through experience, but I am extremely allergic to poison oak.
Okay.
Also through experience. And like there are certain plants that look similar, like wild carrot. Some of them, it looks like a carrot, but it doesn't have that root system of a carrot. But you can eat the tops of carrot. You can eat carrot greens, but that are grown that are actually edible carrots. But those ones that look like carrots, they can really mess you up, and they can mess you up for years. They can completely destroy or wreck your systems or throw them off balance so much that like you're gonna be feeling it for years or months or weeks. Whereas with mushrooms, you can go out, you can find a mushroom, you can look at it, you can mess with it, you can put it in your hand. This is extremely not recommended, but you can put it in your mouth, you can taste mushrooms and then spit them out. Even the most deadly of mushrooms, you can do that in the smallest bite possible just to get that taste. And like some of them, like there's one that you put it in your mouth, I think, I forgot the name of the species, but you put it in your mouth and it's like pepper, like exactly like you just ate a black peppercorn.
That's crazy.
But it's one that if you ate it, like you'd get all messed up in your guts. Like it would just, like you wouldn't have fun for sure.
Okay. All right, so some more mycophobia. Now that we've kind of cleared it up, made it, mushrooms are safer than plants. Let's kind of get into the medicinal versus well, I would consider them all medicinal, I think, as you would as well. But in the modern world, there are the medicinal types. They're categorized different from the psychedelic types. Obviously, the medicinal ones are going to be easier for us to understand and comprehend how they can help us. So let's start first by clearing up some fears, or just educating us more on the importance of medicinal mushrooms and regular consumption for supplementation to help boost immune systems. You go from there. You know what I'm talking about. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So there's, to touch on one medicinal mushroom that has been used for thousands of years by humans, is Ganoderma, specifically Ganoderma lingzi, which is also known as the mushroom of immortality. That one
common name would be?
That would be Reishi.
Reishi mushroom. I think everybody knows the Reishi. Okay, yeah. Cool.
And that one is originated in China. Chinese people, or the Asian people, have been using it for thousands of years to increase their health. Normally it was reserved for royalty, or whoever could just go out and find it and eat it without letting the royalty know.
And just so you guys know, to tap in here, I believe it was in Japan, they did a study recently to kind of talk about Asia in general, but Japan about longevity, and Japan definitely leads the way in the number of people who live to be 100 years old.
Yes.
And China and most of the Asian countries in which the practice of consuming mushrooms has been around for a long time, that also continues to be the residents, that they just live longer and they live healthier. So there's a lot of proof in the pudding right there. That doesn't really matter what you think at this point. Go read the studies. It's been happening for far longer than we even thought about mushrooms. So go look at that now.
Yeah. Definitely look. A great place to start is Reishi. That one is one that has been around. People have been using it for a long time.
And why would I use that for daily? Like, what would it do internally, biologically, daily?
So most Ganodermas have an effect of immunomodulation. So they regulate your immune system. So like, let's say you have like an autoimmune disease. You can take Reishi to help lower your immune response to your own body. But let's say like you're having an immunodeficiency. Your body, you're just constantly getting sick. You're constantly thrown off. It can help bring up your immune system to like a level point.
So the Reishi, literally, its goal is to find homeostasis however it can.
Exactly.
That's amazing, because most things only serve one purpose. They either do this or do that, but that one seems to do both.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Absolutely. And a lot of our modern medicine today is like very structured into the way that it's pinpointed to one specific disease. Okay. So like you take antibiotics, and antibiotics target like these antibodies. Like they attack these particular bacteria, this particular sickness.
Such as the flu vaccine, things of that nature.
Yeah, and that is, it does serve a purpose, but when you do that and you target something with so much efficiency, it throws your whole body out of whack. Because then it's like a balance beam, and you have too much weight on one side, the other side's gonna go up. It's like you need to find that balance point where you have enough weight on both sides to where it's achieving homeostasis.
And the Reishi provides that balance point.
Yes, it absolutely can.
For it. That's amazing.
Something that you need to be aware of if you do decide to just jump off the deep end and take Reishi is if you have things that are like, if you're taking stuff for your blood pressure, like if you have high blood pressure medication that you're taking, you need to do a lot of research before you take Reishi, because Reishi modulates your immune system. But just like we talked about, when you pinpoint one thing like high blood pressure and you bring the high blood pressure down, Reishi is seeing your body for how it is. It's not seeing what you put in your body, it's seeing your body for what it needs. And if you need lower blood pressure, it's going to lower your blood pressure, even if you're on medicine.
It doesn't read the synthetic medicine that's in there; it just reads the current levels, and work goes to work.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the disclaimer. Make sure you talk to your doctor, and more importantly, just don't do something stupid.
Yeah.
Listen to yourself. Be smart. Don't jump off the bridge just because someone said it's going to be a fun fall.
Yes. Exactly.
All right. Cool. Man, I'll attest to that. I have been using mushrooms of different types for probably about 3 years now. Most importantly for me, this is my testimony. This is the Reishi and the chaga have been the two that I've used most extensively for this. I got the flu for 5 years in a row, which is something I never did. Bigger picture, my life went to crap. shorter picture, I began to take care of myself, and one of those things was regular consumption of reishi and chaga mushrooms, and specifically during flu season. And I am now 3 years without having to get the flu and taking zero modern medicine to help with that, which is pretty exciting. So, a little testimony for the reishi and the chaga, specifically the reishi mushroom, which I use more. Okay, so now I have experience with psychedelics, and I personally use psychedelics occasionally to help bring my state of mind to a different place. And most people probably, to be very straightforward, will hold on to some pride or some arrogance to say that, no, I don't need that because of X, Y, and Z. Maybe your spirit is very strong, or your body is very strong, or your mind is very strong, which is a wonderful strength to have. And someone being of a very strong mind and then training myself into a strong body, it was at the point of which all of that pride and arrogance and strength broke me that took me to the point of taking psychedelics for the very first time, which for those of you that know, that was 3.5 years ago at the age of 31. So by no means did I jump into psychedelics as a 17-year-old kid and go apeshit on it. Like, no, I waited until my wife said, it's time for you to grow up. And to be honest with you, the mushrooms, the psychedelic experiences that I've had have allowed that growth. You know, I won't say they created the space for it, but they allowed the forgiveness of self. They allowed the pushing past the stigmas that I thought were on me that I put on myself to be able to grow. So let's talk a little bit about your experience, and more importantly, your convince everyone that they need to take a psychedelic trip. Of course, the reality is not everybody does. Right. But let's convince them. Just do it.
Yeah. So, like you said, not everyone needs the trip. Definitely, it's not for everybody. People who have like schizophrenia, not recommended to take a trip. People who have a family history of schizophrenia but are currently not experiencing any schizophrenic tendencies, probably not a good idea either. It is being studied right now with MAPS, M-A-P-S, or the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies. They are an organization that is doing research into using psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin specifically, specifically just that compound, psilocybin, to treat PTSD, manic depression, treatment-resistant depression, and a whole slew of other things. They're also using MDMA and LSD in small doses to be able to treat that as well. And I think they're just starting to get into ayahuasca and things of like of the more of like the roots, the South American roots, that can help with alleviation of these different illnesses, especially mental illnesses.
Yes.
Personally, I have taken psychedelics on and off for about 5 years now. I'm 23. I started when I was 18, and to be very frank and honest, I did not start in the best intentions. I viewed it as a fun ride. I viewed it as, oh, this is gonna take me somewhere, and I would always take just enough to not get to that point of realization that, oh, I'm misusing this sacred being for my own personal pleasure. And it wasn't until I had that experience about 3 years ago that I was like, that they took me on a bad trip. What's classified as a bad trip? I got a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. These are things that can happen when you take psychedelics in an unguided session without a therapist.
Now, are these instigated by the mushrooms, or would you say the mushrooms open up the ability for you to experience and address those fears?
Yeah, definitely. I would say the mushrooms facilitate you into those experiences for you to have the option to move on and grow from them. Like, they're definitely not the guides, but they can lead you in a direction to where you can find out where you need to guide yourself.
Once again, bringing back around full circle, you're always in charge, you're always responsible, always do your homework.
Yes.
Make sure that you are in control of your life, you are the captain of your soul.
Yeah.
All that jazz.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't blame anybody else for your shortcomings, your mistakes, or if you take mushrooms and it doesn't work for you, that's on you.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Totally okay. It's the best part. It's so good.
Yes, like
the fact that you tried, that's what you needed, just to try.
And they are one of the safest psychedelics that are out there because you can take them in subperceptual amounts, which are also called microdosing. And microdosing has proven to be very effective. A lot of people have microdose, especially in Silicon Valley. Like, that's pretty much how like the internet and
founded.
computers and all
Okay.
these things. That's why this advancement has kept happening.
Let's talk about that, because definitely I think most people have the idea of psychedelics, kind of like you mentioned, is this just a big party trip? Let's go have some fun. I myself have microdosed. Just recently, I'm on a 1 week break. I did 3 weeks of microdosing, very small amount, 0.01 grams. More specifically for me, it's to deal with what I would call my erratic mental state and lack of trust of who I am, which always leads me to want to try new things or do new things, which is really an excuse to not focus on life. So it's an escape for me. Whereas the microdosing helps me maintain that focus and helps remove a lot of the frivolousness that my mind can attract itself to, if you will. So it's been a real good thing for me personally to say that. But talk more about how they're using them for things like PTSD or more extreme cases of mental illness, or even maybe physical ailments, if you will. Kind of clear up some more of that microphobia.
Yeah, so I'm not an expert in microdosing by any means.
But let's just do our best.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, no experts here, just some guys in a room sharing ideas. Something new, huh?
Talking about cool stuff. So, yeah, microdosing can be effective for these things. Specifically, MAPS is doing a lot of study in it. There are other people who are doing studies. I know Trad Cotter, he's had an organization that he founded in Jamaica where he would facilitate people to have what's called heroic dose trips, which is 5.5 grams. And that, since Jamaica has kind of quasi-legal laws around psilocybin, it's not technically illegal, but it's not technically legal either, unlike the United States, which is extremely illegal, which is hilarious because it's a plant, or it's a being that grows naturally on cow patties, and what does Texas have a lot of? Cows. So it's like something that happens and is found everywhere, but if you happen to get caught with it or happen to have enough to measure, then you're going to get in a lot of trouble. Disclaimer, if you do go out and you find mushrooms, and just be very careful, be very safe. Right now the laws are like 5 to 99 years that you can get in prison for psychedelic mushrooms.
As always, be smart, go somewhere where it's legal and it makes it easy.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid about it. And if you do decide to microdose, highly set your intentions, what you want. It's all about set and setting. A good book that I can recommend is How to Change Your Mind, or How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan.
How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. Cool. Y'all
Yeah.
heard that, right? How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan.
That he outlines the history of psychedelics, the name changes they went through. Right now they're called entheogenic substances because psychedelic has a lot of stigma around it, especially with the 60s. That's kind of why the names changed several times.
Understood.
He outlines his experiences with these substances and outlines kind of like what is really important from a scientific aspect of it and from a therapeutical aspect of it. Like, tripping by yourself can be really beneficial, but also it can be pretty terrifying, and it also can lead to bad things too. Like, it's all about your mind, and it's all about who you're with and where you're at. I went to a therapist, I won't say their name just because I haven't gotten their permission, but when I was talking to them, they recommended to me that if I decided to take psychedelics, not to take them within the city limits, because inside the city limits are a lot of people trying to escape their problems. And when you're on these psychedelics, it's like, when you're on these entheogenic substances, it's like, if you imagine like a bunch of jars on a table, and those jars are little bits of you. It's like opening those jars up, and like some entheogenic substances take the lids off of those jars. But if you're in a room with dirty air, you don't want dirty air in your clean jars. You don't want dirty air to get into your perfectly clean jars. You want good air. You want fresh air. You want healing. And a lot of cities, a lot of big metropolitan areas aren't about healing. That's why it's recommended, or people really seek woods. They seek the forest. They seek nature, because nature isn't out to hurt you. nature can hurt you for sure if you abuse it and if you treat it wrong, and if you go in with the wrong intention, then you can definitely have a bad experience. But when you do microdosing, you barely crack the jars. Like you just barely open them enough, so that way if you already have dirty air in your jars, maybe you can get some clean air in there now, and then that can lead to you cleaning up other people's jars. It can lead to podcasts about talking about this. It can lead to it can lead to all these different amazing, beautiful things.
Okay, so this whole podcast has been leading somewhere. This is probably leading to this moment right here, and this is the takeaway. Problem that we address today is no one really understands mushrooms. The solution is to listen to more things such as this podcast so that you can understand more about mushrooms. The action item, the call to action today, that's what you're going to let us know. What is one thing that we can do today? Me as an individual, I'm here in San Antonio, so we'll kind of speak very specifically to the San Antonio market, but of course, obviously this can be done anywhere. In San Antonio, I'm looking to get involved with mushrooms. I'm looking to see the health benefits of them. What's my very first action item to do for myself? And B, where do I go for whatever this action item is?
I would say the first action item is to go out into a local area filled with nature, and just go look for some. Go out and see where they grow. Go out and see what you can find just by listening to this podcast. Just go outside, enjoy some fresh air, get out there and do a forest bath, get those negative ions in you really, and like kind of clean your soul out a little bit, clean your mind out. The second thing that you can do from that is find out if there's any local organizations that do mushroom outreach, that teach about different types of fungus, that like people like me who you can message and be like, hey, I want you to come teach a Myco 101 course at my job or with my friends in my house. Or the Central Texas Mycological Society, which is a nonprofit that has been newly founded here in Texas, that I'm a member of the board of. I'm the vice president. Not that it means anything, because we're member self-directed, and vice president is just a title to fit into the system that already exists. But you can come to our classes. We have a monthly meeting every month, either in San Antonio, San Marcos, and Austin, and soon we'll be having one meeting a month in every one of those cities. Come out here, meet other fellow mycophiles, meet people who are actively doing the things to help themselves move past this ugliness and this horrible system that has been created that most of us are just born into. We're gonna end microphobia, we're ending mycostigma, we're talking about things in an open setting, we're discussing how we can further not just our knowledge of fungus, but the fungus itself. We can run with the mycelium. We can change this world using fungus. Fungus is already changing this world, whether or not we accept it or completely disregard it. Fungus is changing everything, and it will constantly change everything. That's what most beings evolved from, including us. So we are all mushrooms.
Yes, sir. I'm a mushroom. You know, people are mushrooms too.
Yeah. People are mushrooms too.
Mushrooms are people too. Man, Dan, thank you so much for your time. Just kind of a quick little reminder, guys, get over yourself, get over your mind, get over what you think. I can tell you, you don't know anything, period. The second you walk into something with an open mind and an open heart, you will receive exactly that which it is you are meant to receive from that. So, a couple things. You can go, you reach out to the Central Texas Mycology at centraltexasmycology.net. .org. Centraltexasmycology.org. Great organization. It's my very first mushroom walk in Hardburger Park with these individuals. Sam led it, which is how I met Sam. Number 2, reach out to Sam for education. He's got his Mycology 101 class, which I've sat through, which is amazing. I'm looking forward to his Mycology 202, or 102, I think we'll be having soon. Sam, where can we reach you?
You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Sam the Fungi. You can also email me, samthefungi@gmail.com. You can also reach me through the Central Texas Mycological Society. and probably find me in one of your local parks.
Yeah, you definitely will. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We're going to be bringing you some more awareness. Our goal here, as we've mentioned with Roots, is to dig into the community and bring the roots out so everybody can get a true sense, a true identity, and a true connection to the ecosystem, both above and below ground, that creates who you are and creates this experience that we call life. Thank you for listening, guys. Please make sure you're following Sam. You've got his information. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, rootsfitness_San_Antonio, also rootsfitness_Portland. You can reach me at andy.travis@hotmail.com or our website at rootsfitnessa.com. And I think this is where we leave you guys. Sam, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the information. Can't wait to have you on again and hear more about it. In the meantime, happy rooting, everyone. We'll see you guys soon.
Let's spread some spores.
Yeah.